Well, guys, the end of the month is here. A couple weeks ago, I did a video about how, I'm going broke, which really just saying I think most truck drivers are in that same position. But I did a video about the rates, some changes I'm making. And I said at the end of the month, I would talk about what I made. And the end of the month is here. So let's talk about it. Do my intro here. And then actually, I'm just going to talk a bit and show some scenery, about this trip I was on last time. And then we'll get into actual numbers. Well, I just crossed into New Mexico. I'm on I-10 here, out of Arizona, heading east. And yeah, it's a beautiful country here. Yeah, so it's the last day of the month, but technically my earning for the month is over. Yesterday's load I delivered in Goodyear, Arizona, suburb of Phoenix. And I picked this one up in Tucson. This one goes over to Pennsylvania. But I told you guys that at the end of the month here, I was going to do a total, show you how I did. I mean, I've been out for 2 months. I was home for a little bit. I was out at the beginning of the month. I'll tell you what all loads I did. I'm not going to bore you with exactly, each of them, what they paid. I'm going to go with the total for the month. See how I did. Like I said, this staying out long term is not something I'm used to. And we're just coming into December, and I actually plan to stay out until Christmas time. Part of the reason is, the rates just are horrible. And I have securement class in Fort Worth, Texas, 18th and 19th. And actually during this trip, going Tucson to western Pennsylvania, southwestern Pennsylvania, which I'm from Pennsylvania, but other side of the state. After that, I'm going to be picking up a load heading to Mississippi. But during this trip, I'm going to go up through Kentucky, which is where my dad lives in Kentucky right now. And so is my friend Mark, who's going to, you've heard me talk about, kind of be a mentor as far as all this goes. I'm a bit nervous, but I got a lot of support from you guys. And I really do appreciate that. Yeah, I've gotten a whole lot of support. This changeover flatbed, good advice. We'll see what actually happens, but we're gonna go check out some equipment. Mark has a lot of equipment. I'm gonna go learn the differences. I know a lot of them, but I don't know enough of anything, so that's what we'll be doing. All right, guys, so let's start out with me saying that these numbers may be a little bit askew, and the reason for that is I get a settlement once a week on Thursday. In November, there was actually 5 Thursdays, which usually there's only 4, obviously, in a month. A couple times a year, though, there's 5. So the loads I got paid for, some of these loads were done in September that I got paid for in November. Or October, I got paid for in November. And there's some loads like this last one I did, which I thought, in what I said, that my month cut off in Goodyear, Arizona, but that's not true. I actually didn't get paid for that. I guess they didn't get the paperwork in time to process it. So my trip actually ended in Kansas. But the miles and the fuel are exactly right for the month. It's what I spent in the month and how many miles I ran in the month. So that's why the numbers may be a little bit askew, but you'll see next month if I average out the 2 months, if I do this till the end of December. And like I say, what I'm doing here is actually showing, what I'm doing with dry van. And I'll probably be in dry van for most of December also. Like I said before, I got securement class 18th and 19th, and then we'll see, when I switch over from there and see if I can do more money, which at first, and flatbed, when you first start out, you got to do legal loads here at Landstar, but then you can move up from there, which is what I intend to do, and see how it works out. So we could see the pay through time. Hopefully by then rates are up, but we'll see. So here's what I did Yeah, here's what I did in November. Sorry, my screen was at the wrong place. And it's actually right because I actually started on the 1st because I delivered my last load on the 31st of October and then didn't pick up till the next day. So I actually woke up in Commerce, Georgia, went right up the road to Anderson, South Carolina, and took that load to Cincinnati, Ohio. I then picked up another load in Bloomington, Indiana, and delivered it to Marion, Ohio. I loaded out of the same place in Marion, Ohio, and took that load to Richmond, Virginia. Then I deadheaded pretty good. I actually went home to Pennsylvania out of Richmond because I had some repairs to make on the truck. And that's when I was off for a couple days. Then I did a couple local runs. Oh, turn that down. Did a couple local runs. Carlisle, Pennsylvania to Bally, Pennsylvania, which is over near Pottstown. I did 1, 2, 3 of them in a row. Then after that, I picked up a load in Albertus, Pennsylvania, took it to Petersburg, Virginia, picked up a load in Wilson, North Carolina, and took it back up to Albertus, Pennsylvania. Then I was home for a couple days. Then I went to Carlisle, picked up, went to Motley, Minnesota, which is way northwest Minnesota. That was pretty cool. I hadn't been there before. And then I went over to Perham, Minnesota, which is right at the North Dakota line, and took that down to Irving, Texas, a Dallas suburb. From there I went Forney, Texas to Baxter Springs, Kentucky. Had a load up there. And that's when it cuts off. As far as the loads I did that I got paid for, this month. The running I did this month. Now, at the end of the month, I did go Maize, Kansas to Goodyear, Arizona, which is what ended the load yesterday when I went over, picked up in Tucson, and, this load's going up to Pennsylvania. So that tells you what I did. In the last segment I said I was out for 2 months. I wasn't out for 2 months, 2 weeks total. But here's what the money was in that time. So what I actually made in the month of November was $14,945.93. Not really great for the amount of time I was out, especially having five weeks and 5 settlements in there. The total miles I did was 8,814 miles. So if you divide that, the actual mileage was, or the actual rate per mile that I did. Now, this includes all deadhead miles. I don't keep deadhead miles separate. As far as I'm concerned, every mile for the truck has to count. So when I end a trip, when I deliver, it automatically starts the next trip, even though I may have, 10 miles of deadhead or 200 miles of deadhead, whatever it is. So, yeah, that's all the miles. It means that I did personally $1.70 per mile. This truck did. It's not great. It's not horrible. I actually expected it to be a little bit worse for the way things are right now. But like I said, the miles, everything's, I hope that makes sense, but anyway. So, let's see, what did I spend on fuel? I spent on fuel $5,831.83, which was 66 cents per mile. So, if I subtract the fuel from the total, I made $9,114.10, which is actually $1.04 per mile. If I subtract from that the insurance that I paid $708.55 for insurance. It takes me down to $8,405.59, or 95 cents per mile after the expenses. Now, that's all the expenses that I put in here. I didn't do, all the little expenses. I figure I'm going to, keep it simple. You should know, I do know my other expenses. It's just, it would get too many numbers for this. I figure if we keep the income, fuel, and insurance in there, it's a pretty good basis. My insurance doesn't change too much, although there are some things I get charged for weekly that it might have been a little bit high this month, but nothing serious. But all in all, I'm making $8,400 in 5 weeks. It's not really that good. And like I said, there was some other expenses. Yeah, it's just not that good. Now this month I'm going to be out a lot more, and we'll see where it goes from there. Like I say, we're doing more drive-in, and we're going to gonna do some flatbed, and I really hope that works out better. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, something I never did, but looking forward to doing it. And yeah, we'll go from there. Here's one for you guys to figure out. All right, so the other day I woke up in Wilcox, Arizona, and I checked the fuel between Wilcox, Arizona, and I forget what town in New Mexico, not too far away. It was $4.08 in Arizona. It was $4.11 in New Mexico. Difference of 3 cents, but it was actually 20 cents cheaper in New Mexico than Arizona. 20 cents. 20 cents on 200 gallons is $20 or $40. Yeah. So figure that one out. If you don't know how that happened, check out this video here. I did it a while ago, and it'll explain it all if you don't already know how that works. So everybody, this was kind of boring. I showed you some scenery, but it's all just number stuff. But I wanted to keep you guys updated since I got so much support, on the other videos, and people saying whether they're doing good or doing bad and different ways of doing things. So I wanted to show you just what I did this month, and I'll do it again next month too, but there'll be a lot of videos in between there. Got some trucking companies coming up. APA is definitely coming up. Some other ones. I'm going to check out some equipment at Mark's house, and I'll have securement class and all kinds of stuff going on. So hey guys, like and subscribe if you like this and you're not already subscribed, and feel free to comment down below. I always say I read every comment, and it's one of my favorite parts of this. So thanks everybody. I'll catch you on the next one.